Good evening. I will call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the, I'm sorry, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. It's my first day. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll?
Carmody.
Here.
Fishbein.
Here.
Laffin.
Here.
Regan.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Tata.
Here.
Testa. Marone.
Here. All right, so first on the agenda is a recognition of the CT STEM Academy Wallingford team. So we are incredibly proud tonight to recognize the Connecticut STEM Academy team 55508A, the Star Wars team, for their outstanding achievement in earning one of 3 coveted tickets available to represent Wallingford, Connecticut at the VEX Robotics World Championship in Dallas, Texas. I guess we're better. All right, at the VEX Robotics World Championship in Dallas, Texas this May. This talented team, made up of Brecklin Houlihan, Jace DeOliveira, Mason Herpach, and Sebastian Samuel, earned first place in teamwork and second place in skills at the state competition, showcasing their dedication and skill. Throughout the season, they also received several prestigious awards, including the Excellence Award, Teamwork Champion Award, and Robot Skills Champion. The Connecticut STEM Academy VEX IQ Robotics Competition team is led by Robotics Director Laura Juarez, and Team 55508A is coached by Brady Galligan. Both are graduates of the Wallingford Public Schools and residents of Wallingford. Connecticut STEM Academy is a town-wide program that is the result of a strong partnership between town agencies, including Wallingford Youth Services and the Wallingford Park and Rec Department. Connecticut STEM Academy thanks the town of Wallingford for their partnership for many years. We wish the team the best of luck as they head to the World Championship, where they will represent Wallingford with pride. So if you would like to come up, the mayor has a certificate for you. And Mr. Stone?
Or that. I would like to congratulate the team, not only the kids, but also their parents as well. So thank you to the families for really the support throughout the year. I want to also thank the town of Wallingford for your support as well as the coaches. So congratulations to all the kids. And Mayor, thank you very much for the recognition as well as Council Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't hand me a mic tonight. Check. Oh, it works. All right, we have 4 certificates. I have one for Sebastian Samuel. Congratulations. Jace D'Oliveira. Congratulations. Mason? No? Will you take Mason's? And Brecklin Houlihan. Congratulations. Excellent work. We're all very proud of you. Okay.
All right, so I have my oldest is in college right now studying chemistry. And the funny thing about STEM careers is he's a sophomore. At the end of his sophomore year, there's already jobs or places of work looking to him, offer him jobs for internships and so on. So STEM is the place to be. You know, with a bachelor's degree in chemistry, like he's studying our bio, there's a lot of places you can go. So you guys are on an amazing path, so can keep up with it. All right, moving on to item number 3. I'll accept a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve or accept consent agenda items 3A through 3I.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion unanimous. There were no items removed from the consent agenda, so moving on to item number 5, public question and answer. Any questions for the council? Sir, I'm sorry, Mr. Comerford, you were first.
Bill Comerford, Broadview Drive. To the mayor through the chair. Doolittle Park basketball court, the lower one that I had brought up before about the crack. Has there any update with that?
I've looked at it several times. There's a hairline crack. I have a photo of it. It barely disturbs the surface. I believe that the rec director has been in touch with the vendor regarding the warranty, but we've been in touch with the vendor.
Okay, and I don't know. Do you know if that was built in a flood zone?
I do not know.
Just for your information, it was. And the map that was supplied, which I'm going to give you guys all a copy of, it's identified as a flood zone that was done by the engineering department 8 months or 6 months prior to any work being done. So if you guys remember correctly, I brought it up that I always thought as someone experienced with concrete that it's going to rise to a bigger problem and it's going to be water. I also have pictures where 6 houses up have 3 feet of standing water. So it's well documented, even through Public Works, that their equipment gets stuck there and they would have to tow it out. So I don't know if that's going to have any bearing on the warranty, but it is in the flood zone. I'll give you guys copies of the things, the submittals that were issued with the purchase, the bidding documents. But now it puts a different spin on it. Now, if I was the contractor, I'd be saying, hey, you guys wanted it there. You guys knew it was a flood zone. It's right on your own map. You told me to put it there. So I'm off the hook. And one other question is the inspections for the sidewalk. Last time you said that you had one meeting with the engineering department, and you said there was going to be a follow-up. Has a follow-up taken place yet?
No, it has not.
Okay, thank you. I'll hand these out to you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
My name is John Jack Beecher. I live on Cider Hill Road in Wallingford. As I always do, I'd like to thank everyone here for their service to our town. You do us the service, and I appreciate it. That said, I want to say 3 things about myself and then ask my question. We came to the town in 1972, so we've only been here 52 years. In that time, we've seen a few things. I'm an unaffiliated voter, and I'm a veteran. When I read the paper earlier this week, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. There was a line that said, council considering, or mayor is proposing a 20% increase in taxes. The first question is that an accurate quote?
The proposed budget increases taxes by 5.9%.
I'm sorry.
The jump to the headline is that the impact on the average homeowner is 19% as a result of revaluation.
Okay, that's very helpful. It's only a little less shocking. In the years that we've been here, we have benefited from the increase in the value of our home. We have gone from a family with 2 young children who went through a wonderful school system. My wife served that school system, as some of you know. And now we're senior citizens. And for those of you who aren't where we are, it sneaks up on you. But now now I'm semi-retired. My wife is fully retired. And our income has changed dramatically. But a couple of things haven't. And we need your help. We need you to really think about this. An 18% increase in my taxes is substantial. I'd like to compare that to the veteran exemption that I got. I don't know when the last time it increased. I didn't expect anything from my military service except the respect of those who served before and after and a flag on my coffin. I was delighted to have a small exemption. I think it was $1,000 on our first home, but now it's $3,000, if I'm correct about that. And I don't understand, that has not kept pace. It's almost like saying, well, what we appreciated before, we don't appreciate now. And trust me when I tell you, I know that the country feels a lot differently about veterans than they did in 1969 when I got home. So I'd like you to, as you do your deliberations, I'd like you to really think about this. I understand that if we don't have the industry to bear, we can't stick it all on industry, but an 18% hit on a person with a fixed income is really a challenge. It is very difficult. So that, I guess that's an ask. The question was it 20%? I'm glad to hear that's not the case. It seems to me that, I was here when we were talking about the pool, and we were talking about COVID and how uncertain times were. Right now, as I stand before you today, I've never been more uncertain in my lifetime than what's going to happen next. I've been through crashes in '88. I've seen the market drop. Right now, we have politics that are just unpredictable. And as long as it's unpredictable, I think we're all frozen, and I don't think it's a time right now to build. We have to wait a little time. So I know there are members of the council who are very thoughtful. I'd ask you to continue to be very thoughtful and reflective. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks things settle down. The other question I have, or request I have, I'm a person now without a party. I live in a town that's the political party in power is Republicans. I'm not a Republican. I live in a state where the Democrats are in power. I'm not a Democrat. And I live in a country where we have Republicans in power, and I have no way to get to them. So when I have no one to write to. I've written to my state senator. I've written to my state representative. But I'd ask the members of the Republican Party to let their leadership in the state and beyond know that there are constituents in this town who are really concerned about the direction of the country, the leadership of the country, and the uncertainty that is existent right now. And the earnest request is to please at least let the Republicans in the state and nationally know that they represent everyone. I know I have a sense of this council that you feel that way. Although I've had my differences with one or two of you, I've always felt that you were for the people of Wallingford, not just for the people of your party. So I thank you for your listening, and earnestly request that you let your leaders know that we're all Americans at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service. Anyone else? Mr. Shardullo?
Paul Shardullo, 2 Bayberry Drive. Mr. Chairman, just before I get started, are we going to do is the town going to do a public hearing on the budget?
Yes, we are.
Okay, just curious. Are you going to be doing the workshops as well?
Yeah, so there's going to be a workshop on Thursday for the Board of Ed, and then a couple of workshops next week, and then the public hearing.
I'm just curious, that's all. Yeah, I received a copy of the budget this morning. I was looking at it, and I decided I wanted to come down and make some comments on it. But first, I want to make an observation, which I think is important.
Wallingford is stagnant in terms of population. That's a fact. If you look at the population today, we're at around 44,000 or something like that. The high growth period for Wallingford, I did a little research on it. Post-World War II, I mean, we did a lot of growing. In fact, I moved, the gentleman before me, he said he moved here in the 70s, as I did. During that decade, we grew double digit. So we had double digits in the 70s, double digits in the 80s. Around 2000, the growth rate started to drop. It peaked in 2015 and has been falling ever since. Student population's down 18%, according to the audit reports, in the last 10 years. Young people are leaving Wallingford for job opportunities because Connecticut is not exactly, a magnet for businesses. And I think I'm correct in saying we are a graying community. Young people are leaving. Older folks that moved here are seniors now, and they're staying here longer. So, given that set of facts, and I don't see that trend changing. Maybe you folks have a different opinion about that. It seems to me that companies are not coming to Connecticut. In fact, they're leaving. The most recent one we had, Bristol Myers, was a biggie for us. We lost a substantial customer. I don't think that trend is going to change in the short term. Therefore, I believe we should be shrinking town government, not growing it, to be consistent with that trend. I think if you look at the grand list and you adjust it for inflation, this is a guess on my part, but I think this is true. The grand list is also not growing if you take the inflation on. So we're just, it's not a bad thing, we're just not growing as much anymore. So we need a government, a town government that's consistent with that. And I think we've been going in the wrong direction. And I believe it has to stop. And I hope that this is the year that we stop it. If you look at 2021, we grew our expenses 1.7%. 2022, we grew at 2.5%. 2023, we grew at 3.1%. 2024, which we just ended in June, we grew at 4.7%. And if we spend up to this year's budget, we will have spent a growth of 6.8%. That's unacceptable. I don't believe we're going to spend up to that level, and I'll get into that too. But, basically, I think we're crushing the working class in Wallingford. And I was very happy to see that our mayor is going to go to the senior center tomorrow and talk to seniors about the budget. I think that's very, very necessary because they're the ones that are really getting hit hard, some of them. So that's the observation I wanted to make. That's the world we live in today. And we should be looking at our budgeting and driving certain issues to improve productivity, improve cost efficiency. We shouldn't be, in my opinion, we shouldn't be looking at, and there are a lot of people are talking about building a $125 million school and closing 2 high schools. How about considering merging the 2 into one existing one and taking that savings and put it into that school and enhance it? We have to get out, I think we have to get out of the mode of building, because that's what's hurting us badly. As far as the budget is concerned, if you look at the summary page, The first column is fiscal year 24 performance. And again, we don't have a budget column in here. So you're comparing it to nothing. I don't know what, but I understand what the numbers are. We don't have a budget column. I've made this recommendation to you folks to talk to the mayor about changing this so that when you look at it, you can compare it to something. We don't, on the revenue side, we don't include the fund balance that we use to balance the budget. We omit it. The reality is that in 2024, we underspent by $3.2 million. We overachieved by $7.7 million. We sent back to surplus $10.9 million. Now, 7.9 of that was the money we took out at the beginning. And then we put that back in, plus 3 or 4 million. So we're over budgeting, but we're also overspending.
Mr. Shardullo?
Yes.
You're over on time, but would you mind wrapping it up?
I'm sorry?
You're over on time. Would you mind wrapping it up?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
I said you are over on time.
Okay,
So if you could wrap it up, please.
okay, very quickly. Year to date, we're underspent by $13 million through February, so we have 4 months left. So the question I have for anyone in the room, Mr. Controller or the mayor or yourself, are we going to spend $13 million more than what's budgeted in the next 4 months? I don't think so. So I think that the numbers here, bottom line is my forecast for this year is $188 million. We've budgeted 196. 3.2 of that is from the previous year. We, like I said, 13 million under, 3.2 of that from last year. The rest of it's this year. And if you extrapolate that and carry it on out, the trends indicate that there's no way we're going to spend $207 million. So I don't believe that we can, should, or support any tax increase. And I invite you to take a deep look at it. The council's the only body in Connecticut and in Wallingford that can change this. That's why I'm appealing to the council and not the mayor or the controller, because they've made their decision. You have to make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Sir?
Hi, my name's Stephen Miller. I live on Fair Street Extension, and I've lived here for about 25 years. Wallingford's always been a place of fiscal responsibility. Taxes have been low, electric rates are low, and I'm here because I read in the paper about a close to 20% tax increase. That's a huge money. And it doesn't matter if you're a senior citizen or not a senior citizen, if you're a homeowner or a renter. If you're a renter, you're going to get dinged just like everybody else. The landlord's going to raise the rent. So I wanted to express my concern about that. And unfortunately, I won't be able to make a meeting tomorrow because it's I have an engagement, and most people who work can't make those day meetings. But one comment was made about how it really wasn't a 19% or tax increase. And I don't understand that, because I understand that reevaluation, your property values go up, but at the same time, your assessment goes up, but the mill rate goes down usually, so everything should be about the same, with a very minor increase, if any. Am I wrong?
So, let me just tell you, Mayor.
So there's two factors that are causing this 18% shift to the residential. So we did the reevaluation of all the real estate in town as required by the state. between 2020 and 2024, 2020 was the last time we did revaluation, property values have increased almost 10% every year. And it's almost 45% increase. So that's one fact. So what that does is that skews the whole grand list. So from the prior grand list, real estate made up 61.5% of the total grand list. After this revaluation, it makes up 68.05% of the grand list. So that alone has shifted the tax burden from all the other components to the residentials. And on top of that, the state changed the way assessors can assess the value of vehicles.
Right.
So the vehicle component of the motor vehicle grand list decreased by 14%. So you've had the shift of the values, and then the motor vehicle decrease has caused the problem. So when you get your tax bill, when you get your bill for your vehicle, it's going to be much lower than it was in the prior year.
Is the tax rate increase going to be 18% or 19%?
It depends on
Going to be
the value.
5%, because I'm not sure I
So
understand how
the
those
tax
figures differ.
increase is the difference between what the town needs to raise in taxes from one year to the next. So the tax increase of what we need to fund this budget is 5.94.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't universally go to each person's property or bill. Some people's houses went way up, some didn't. If your house didn't increase in value, you're only going to get the 5.94%.
I see. Well, I would like to say, though, that these are uncertain times. We have no idea what's going to happen with our country and the economy. And it seems to me that we should be looking for ways to economize now, because who knows what's going to happen next year and the year after. It may be a real mess. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michael, we have just a couple of minutes, but I saw you with your hand up, so if you could be brief, I would appreciate it.
Jason Michael, Meadow Street. I did specifically want to talk about the budget, the packet in particular. I read over it when it was made public, and I had found out that you guys get a different packet. You get a packet with all kinds of juicy information as to why departments ask for things, and if there are new line items that are new, besides just saying new. And while I can't understand why we didn't get that, I called to get it and was told there are none. You should FOI one, and it would be roughly $50 to $60 by my count, 50 cents a page. Now, I don't know what the thought process was. Someone took the time to put what we got out. I feel for you, because theoretically, you're elected to speak for us. Now, you're going to make big decisions that affect everybody in town. You're going to make these decisions under the premise that you're speaking for us. But you're doing it with another set of information that we don't have. So how can you do that in good faith? And it's not your fault. But if we don't have the information in order to ask you, our spokespeople's questions, or demand that maybe something isn't in there, how is that a working system? In other words, I want to know if we have 2 engineers, 3 engineers, 5 engineers, I want to know what we pay them. They're public people, right?
So if you give me a second, so I found out about this today at noon. I think someone had already spoken to the vice chair about it. She'd asked the mayor's office what.
That was me.
Okay, so because I guess there was a packet. I guess I wasn't aware that there was a separate packet for the public and a separate packet for the councilors. Right. So the mayor's office has made the decision to put the council packet online, so that will be on the council webpage shortly.
Right, and I had heard that. Thank you, okay. Councilor Tata, but that makes no sense to me. We have a Facebook page, finally. We have an IT person. Why is this going to be buried on a councilor page that half the town doesn't know how to get to.
Well, I don't know that the council page is buried. I mean, looking for the budget, someone asked me where they could find the budget, and I Googled 2025 Wallingford budget, and it brought me right to the spot.
Right.
So I don't know that it's buried. I mean, Google knows where it is. So if you're having trouble finding it, Google it.
But what's the rationale of not putting it on the town government Facebook page that everybody sees well, not everybody, people who are interested see? It can't be that hard.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
kindly.
we did attempt to upload the entire binder packet to the website today. It is too large by the method we tried. So it is our hope that by tomorrow morning we'll have a way to upload it. We wouldn't put the whole budget on Facebook. We could put a link to it on the Wallingford Government Facebook page.
Oh, well, great. That makes sense to me, that it's just easily obtained by everybody in order for, I hope, I'm sure you guys probably don't, that there's a line of people asking questions and they should have the information. That's it. And I'll be really brief with the last thing. Again, the budget meeting's coming up. I saw there's a handful of departments that are going to be invited here and you're going to talk to, and it's going to give the public an opportunity to question them. The only opportunity, really. So it's a handful of a bunch of hands that have their hands out getting tax money in the budget. Now, if you don't have a question for other groups, they're not going to be here or invited here. But again, you speak for us. So if someone here has a question for a group that you didn't have a question for, how do we get to ask that?
Well, the public hearing will be at the end of the process. You come to the public hearing and all the departments will be here.
Okay, but will everyone who's accepting money from our tax purse be available?
So all the departments will be represented. So if there's a third party that's funded through one of the departments, you could ask that department about where that money's going or what your concerns are.
And they'll be prepared with the answers.
Well, I can't speak to their preparedness, but I can say that they will be here to answer your question.
But wouldn't the group be prepared to answer everything? In other words, I'm just going to pull one out of the sky. If I have a question about SCOW and why they need this money and for how much and what they plan to do with it and what they've done before, who am I going to ask? What department am I going to ask? And is that person going to have the answer? Because we only get our shot, right?
Yeah, no, I see where you're going with it. I mean, SCOW is a group that Wallingford gives money to, right? So they are not under Wallingford government. They're a third party.
But they've been here in the past. Groups like that have been here in the past. Not last year, but in every year past. Groups that took a substantial amount of money from the taxpayer were here to answer the taxpayers' questions. It is our money. And all I'm asking, is there a mechanism where I can call one of you and say, I would like to have XYZ group here, because I have questions?
Yeah, so the council method in terms of question and answer is they can submit questions to me and the vice chair if they have questions about a particular department that we can get a written answer for. If we're not one of the ones that's specifically coming. So if you have a question for someone else, I'm happy to forward that to that, whatever the group is.
And if they fail to answer it, I'm out of luck?
I'm sorry?
If they fail to answer it in writing by the time we're done with this process, in other words, I think we know that that's not the most efficient way to get this done if someone has questions or follow-up questions. For me to write a letter to you and you write a letter to them, and then they have to write a letter back to you in time to answer my question before the open meeting, what's the chances of that happening opposed to, excuse me, I'd like to know, you put in for a $50,000 mower. Why? I don't think the department heads are going to be able to answer that if it falls underneath it. That's all. And I didn't know if there is going to be a mechanism for us to be able to say, I would like to see, I sit on Wallingford Center Inc. board, so I'll use them. I'd like to see Wallingford Center Inc. here because they take X amount of dollars, and I'd really like to ask about what they spent on whatever we see downtown. But I have to provide that in writing and hope to get an answer? Or if they say, well, it's tough to tell because we haven't done this. Well, would you spend it on this year compared to last year? I'm sorry if I'm going long, but I just want to know if there's going to be an opportunity to ask you to have them here. So now, whether they refuse or not, I guess is up between you and them. But we as the taxpayers facing this kind of budget, I believe have the right to ask anybody who takes money from it as to the means and what they're returning for it. And I'm not talking about dragging up the president of Little League for the $3,000 that they don't really ask for. I'm talking about substantial amounts of money that they're not going to be here. I just want to know if there's a way we can say, hey, and I don't know how many people will even be interested, but I, for one, am, and I want to know if there's a way that I can say, Counselor Marone, Counselor Tata, Counselor Regan, whoever, I would like you to have these people here, and I'll give you the question. I don't have to be down here, but I'd like to see it answered. Is there a way that that can happen?
Well, again, if you send me your question in writing, I'd be happy to follow up on it.
In writing?
Correct.
So the answer is no.
So, I mean, here's the thing. So we have the budget hearings, right? And then the groups show up, and then you ask a question, and then it's like, we'll have to get back to because we don't know the answer, right? So it's sort of the same mechanism. So I'm not, like, I get you like sort of to have them in front of you, to be able to like look them in the eye when you ask the question.
Makes a difference.
But the important thing is the answer, right? To the question ultimately.
Right.
So it's not really about the sort of gravitas of standing at the mic and being able to like face them. It's like, what's the answer to the question? Is this valid? And ultimately, the council has to make decisions about a lot of these things, right? So is there a mechanism? The mechanism right now is in writing. But if a counselor wants to see a particular group, I'm happy to invite them, to a budget meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and moving on to number 6, discussion of old business. Mayor, do you have an update on community pool?
Yes, the bids are being collected, and my understanding is that they will be open next week.
Perfect, thank you. And the town building maintenance assessment, I believe we've all received copies of that on the council.
Yes, so I'll be reviewing them with the Director of Public Works, and at some point, we will come to the council with a plan to address the issues that are discussed in those reviews.
Perfect, thank you very much. The fire department study is underway, so I have nothing else to add to that other than that it's ongoing. Mr. Farrell, do you have an update on Hindenburg Lane?
The town has obtained an easement and has a meeting with planning and zoning on April 14th to discuss possible options. That will be an executive session. So as the options need to be discussed in executive session. So hopefully something will come out of that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7. I will call to order a public hearing to consider an act on an ordinance appropriating $1.5 million for the replacement of boilers at E.C. Stevens Elementary School, Cook Hill Elementary School, and Sheehan High School, and authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million to finance that appropriation. Any questions from the council on the public hearing? Members of the public, any questions? Sir.
I'm curious as to why does the Board of Education, who has their own budget, which we approve, why do they have to come back here for approval, to do capital for the boilers?
So this money's not coming out of their budget. So the town will be bonding separately for this capital improvement, and that's why they're here for this.
So they have a capital budget, but they didn't put it in it. Is that right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, so this would be like a long-term capital item. So I don't know that the board, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the Board of Ed, but they don't typically put long-term items like boiler replacements in their capital budget.
Okay. I recommend that be changed. I think it's dumb, to be honest with you. They have 2/3 of our entire budget. We approve it, you evaluate it, you approve the whole thing. They have their own staff. I know there were some issues, and on social media, it was a big issue. The boilers were bad for years. They couldn't get approval. It's accountability. You give them the money, and they're responsible. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Sir?
Bill Comer for Broadview Drive. I see everybody from the Board of Education's here. Are they coming up, or are we just...
Did you have a question?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of questioning how many other ones are there, because I quickly looked at the budget. I was waiting for the one that you guys have, that you guys were talking about, because there probably was backup information. I didn't want to waste anybody's time. But what from I glean from that is there's a whole litany of boilers that need to be replaced.
Right.
Is that your feeling too?
It is.
And what number might that be? 8, 10, 12? Any idea?
I don't know. I know we replaced the ones at Lyman Hall and the ones at Pond Hill, I think. Mr. Deptula, would you like to step forward on, or? Good, and I'm sorry, if you could just introduce yourselves for the record.
Mark Deptula, Supervisor of Buildings and Grounds for the Wallingford Public School System. We started out originally with Moses White Beach, which was approved quite a few years ago, and that was completed successfully. We put very high efficiency steam gas-fired boilers in Moses. Then we moved on to Pond Hill because we had a boiler failure there, and that's when it became we got a hold of information that the parts for those boilers were no longer available, which basically made the pressure vessel obsolete. So we immediately moved on with plans for Cook Hill, which is the same boilers as Pond Hill, and Stevens Elementary, which is also the same. It was a very good design in its day, state of the art, but without the components being available, that was like the biggest consideration. Then we moved on to Sheehan High School. Sheehan has, there's some reliability issues there. They're old steel boilers, and we really felt that was probably our next big investment. Moving on from there, we will probably be looking at the middle schools. Those are also steel boilers, but we assessed all the boilers, not just based on age, but reliability and serviceability, because that's really the most important thing. Our boilers, for the most part, we've probably got 3 times the recommended life out of them, so they really don't owe anything to the town. So it's kind of been a long time coming, and I was very pleased to see that the Moses White Beach boilers, with the support of the mayor and the council, got approved, and we got that done. That was a big day for me because my first part of my career here, I spent taking care of those boilers, and I do shed a tear when I see some of these old equipment go, but it is time. There are efficiencies that we will gain by replacing these boilers. We will be able to maintain a slightly higher combustion efficiency and certainly a thermal efficiency. The thermal efficiency will be much higher. In the case of Stevens Elementary, we have gone to condensing gas boilers, which are much more efficient. Unfortunately, in the other installs, we do not have that option because of the fuel source.
I guess must have missed my question. How many collectively are we going to be looking to replace? All of them, and what is that number?
The 2 boilers at Fritz they really don't need to be replaced. They're some of the newest boilers we have. They were originally installed by Public Works when Public Works had the building, and then we expanded those boilers a couple sections when we renovated the school as new. The schools, obviously, where we've already done a replacement, we're not planning on doing that. But the elementary schools, with the exception of Fritz, we'd be looking at all of those. Probably 2 to 3 a year, if possible, as long as we have the support. But we are looking at the condition, and that's what we're basing our judgment on. We have about I think there's around a total around 40 boilers in this district. But we are putting a big dent in. With these 3 projects, we'll be over halfway through.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're guesstimating, 2025 that we're going to have to replace. My question is I realize you guys do this waterfall program that you guys just recently instituted. For the life of me, I couldn't understand why we didn't have something like that for decades, but I'm glad to see that it's in the works. Was the administration or the prior administration aware of how bad these boilers have always been?
So I can speak from when I had come on. Some of them at that point were at least serviceable, and so it was easier for our department to be able to fix them. They're all original pretty much to the buildings, but we had luck in the past with being able to service them. And so I think they're all tending to go at the same time, and they're really not serviceable anymore. Our department does the best they can to continue to maintain them, along with our vendors, but they're all starting to go, it feels like, at the same time, just based on age.
But the question is, was the administration aware of it?
I mean, I believe they were, but it wasn't
Comerford.
something that was at that time an issue. So, as things come up, we bring them up.
The reason why I'm
Wait, Mr.
asking,
Comerford, what does this have to do with the scope of replacing these boilers, though?
because if we're going out to bond, right? And I'm not a big fan of bonding like Mr. Chardillo. And if we're sitting on cash, and if we're going to bond, and there's a chance, a remote chance, that one of these things that we've been gimping along for 30, 40 years is going to crap out on us, maybe it's the time to look at, hey, while we're doing this, we might as well bite the bullet, and instead of the 1.5 mil, maybe we need 8 million, because they're going to come back. They just told you they need 25 more. So collectively looking at it, wouldn't it be now, I don't know what the bond rating is right now. I know that we have a lot of debt service based on, we're still paying for the school roofs, and we're thinking about taking schools down or whatever. So it's kind of like, make a decision. Because if this was one of my projects in the past, I would want to know all my liabilities. And if this is the case, and we're doing 1.5, and they come back to you 6 months from now and say, hey, same problem we had at Lyman Hall, we got one of these elementary schools, but now we got to come back in front of you again. So if there's more that are really on the way out, why are we Band-Aiding this is beyond me. Because at some point we're paying for it anyways. It's like everything else we're catching up to with our 19% increase, but we are getting nothing. We might as well put as you stated, our big boy pants on and start asking the questions. That's why I'm here, because at some point we have to pay for it. And I feel bad for them, because I don't personally feel that Board of Education should have anything to do with buildings. They should be teaching the kids and doing the best that they can. They shouldn't be involved with buildings, boilers, or whatever. And they probably, in my opinion, might be afraid, because maybe they did bring it up. And they said, no, so let's kick the can another time. And kick it and kick it and kick it. Well, the can now, the empty can is full of concrete. Now we're paying. So this 1.5 is nothing in the grand scheme of things, because they're telling you right now that they're pleading for more. That's my point. And I would just be hopeful that they can at least say to you or everybody else, this is in the dire straits that we are in. And this is before even potentially going from 2 high schools to 1. It's totally irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public on this? All right, coming back to the council. Councilor Tata?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. The Sheehan boilers that we're looking to bond, what is their cost? Is this a split? Is it $500,000 each for all 3 schools? Or is it not divided equally?
Sure. Sheehan High School is $840,000. The other 2 elementaries are both $349,000. One's $349,850.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bill, if you could speak into the mic, please.
Sorry. So Sheehan High School is $644,000. Cook Hill Elementary is $349,000, and E.C. Stevens is $349,000.
Okay. The current Sheehan boilers, have they failed, or we're just anticipating they may fail? Because I remember when I went on the tour, I believe I was told that these were better than the ones at Lyman Hall that had to be replaced, that they were not currently failing. Is that accurate?
Right now, we need to retube one of those boilers. The cost to retube would be at least $40,000, and that would have no effect on the reliability. These boilers and burner packages, which are one, most of our boilers have a separate burner that can be changed by itself. This is an integral part. The burner is an integral part of the boiler. So it's a very old design. It uses an air pump that most oil burner mechanics have never ever seen before. So it's not unusual to have a service guy show up at Sheehan High School and not know what he's looking at. Most oil burners all run on the same principles. These are a little different. And we've had some reliability issues because of the fact that it's so hard to get qualified mechanics in to work on them. I took care of them for years. I know some of the ins and outs, but they're in rough shape, and we really need to get something that's a little bit more reliable. and I would not suggest rebuilding those boilers. They've all been, as far as I know, I think the Sheen boilers have all been rebuilt 3 times. Another thing you may be interested in knowing, district-wide, most of our cast iron boilers and the steel boilers at Dag and Moran were all retrofitted with new burners early in the 90s, I believe. I think there might have been a few, I started in 96, there might have been a few to finish. So they've been, these things have been upgraded mainly for reliability, but now we're having problems with the actual pressure vessels.
Okay, thank you. My concern with spending this money, so almost $644,000, is doing this while we're talking about still potentially closing high schools. So I'd rather wait a year for Sheehan, because I'm thinking, we've been told hopefully by next year we'll have a better direction of what we're doing with the 2 high schools. So I don't think I'm supportive of this, spending that kind of money right now, bonding that kind of money. I'm totally fine with the Stevens and the Cook Hill ones. I don't know if anyone else is interested in splitting those out so we can fund those 2 without the Sheehan one, but I would certainly be in support of that and hoping we can get through another winter at Sheehan with what we have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for being here tonight. When were these estimates done on these? How long ago?
These are actually bids. They're bid prices
These
right
are,
now.
okay, so these are, okay, so there's no chance that any of this, this is fully enough money that we're bonding here?
Correct.
Because like, just for, like the 2 boilers at Lyman Hall have big Canadian flags on them. So these things, if they're coming from anywhere, may have added, I just want to make sure that what we're bonding for, the amount is okay, thank you. Oh, and one more question. My understanding is that even if we were to try to replace every boiler in every school tomorrow and we had unlimited dollars, that would not be possible because there's not enough people to do it. Is that accurate?
I think that's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
When we went out to bid for these boilers, we hit the ideal time frame. We had 20 people show up for each walkthrough, if not more. We've never had that many vendors show up for bids before. It was all a matter of timing. It is critical. There's only about a month and a half, 2 months where you get that kind of result. And it shows in the cost, because when you look at Sheehan, that could easily turn into a job for another $300,000 or $400,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Superintendent Belizzi, just a basic question. When would the first occupancy of a new school, either proposed of one combined, or either the 2 be available for use?
Sure, that would be the fall of 2031. So it's like 5 to 6 years from now. If this is something that goes through, it would be putting in a grant for June of 2026, and then it's typically 5 to 6 years from there. So
in
it's a
my
good
estimation,
5 to 6 years.
You're being a little optimistic.
Correct, I am being optimistic. So at least 5 to 6 years from now, maybe more.
5 to 6. I'm thinking you're in the 7 to 8 year period of time, looking at $40,000 for spare parts every now and then. Correct. The economics just don't make sense, in my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm absorbing the various objections that come up, and they seem to fit into 3 categories, but I might lose track. Why now? Why in this manner? And I lost track of the other one. But I mean, the arguments are like, okay, well, why are we bonding? Well, I mean, that's I'm going to try to be reasonable here, but that's a ridiculous question. If the Board of Ed came to, presented their budget to us and said, here's our budget this year, and we need $2 million on top of our budget to replace the boilers. That would be a direct increase in taxes. And that would be insane, and we would not do that. Over the years, we've always done this. When we have capital expenditures, regardless of who is the occupant or user of those buildings, we look at those projects and we say, okay, let's put it together. I've been around for a long time. Many years ago, we had a boiler replacement project and an underground tank replacement project. And did it fix everything? No, nothing ever fixes everything. We always do whatever we can get away with. We always look at what has to be done. So many years ago, we had to do a lot of tank replacements and a lot of boiler replacements. And we put a committee together and did a major project because we were able to identify relatively immediate needs at as many schools as we could, just like we did the roof replacement project. And then 8 years later, we had to replace some roofs and people were flipping out. Didn't you just replace roofs? Yes, we did, but not at that school because that school didn't need it at that time. So that gets me to the point of why do we do one school? Why don't we do all of them at one time? Well, because when we decide we have an immediate need, we say, okay, it's urgent. So let's try to address it. So if you were to say, why are we bonding $2 million? Why don't we package them all together and bond 10? Well, if they all had to be done today, we could do that. But it's not irresponsible to do 2. We could do 2 a year. It's a credit card. You're bonding. When you bond, you have to make repayments. So if you could put off the expenditure, you are now putting off the repayment that then has to be a part of your budget. So doing it piecemeal is not always wrong. It's responsible. But it's also, you have to address it when it comes up. And then if we say, well, maybe we can put this off because we may not be sure what we're going to do with that building. Well, you're going to be using that building as a school for 5 years, at least. Just like Lyman Hall, where I am. We were like, oh, I can't believe it. We have to replace those boilers. Yeah, you have to replace those boilers. That's the way it is. So if we decide we're going to do something different with that building, it's still 5, 6, 7 years down the road. And you have to maintain that building. And kind of puts you in that sort of a flip-flop, because one of the biggest criticisms is that we haven't maintained our buildings. And I've been at the head of the class in criticizing the way this town has maintained their buildings. So when we have a situation where we know we need to do something, and especially when it's coming from the Board of Ed, who is every year, they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do with our budget this year? We look at it and we say, this is reasonable. This has to be done. It'd be hard to convince me that the Board of Ed has ever asked us for anything they didn't desperately need. That's not how it works. So I think we look at the big picture. I would love to see us, and I talk about this frequently, and I will continue to talk about this. I would love to see us do a more comprehensive package-style bonding approach to capital improvements town-wide. But it's hard to do. Maybe we're getting to the point where we're going to do more of that. But you can't just all of a sudden say, let's just do it all at once, because we're not prepared to do it all at once. But bonding has its place. And its place is a large capital expenditure that you do not want to pay for in a year, because that 1 year expenditure is going to whack the taxpayers in a big way.
And of any year, this is not the year to do that. We haven't even touched that yet. So we look at it and we say, okay, we are in a position to borrow, and we will address it, and we will incorporate the repayment for that bond into next year's budget in the following 10 to 20 years, whatever it is. And then if next year we have to do it again, we do it again. And next year we do it again. If that's how we have to do it, that is responsible. It's planning. It allows you to plan for your budget. So, as usual, I've spoken a lot. So I think this is a reasonable request. I think putting it off would be, wouldn't gain us any ground. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to Councilor Tata.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Senna, how long are these bonded for?
20 years.
20? And do you know approximately what the rate is on that, the interest rate?
I would just be guessing, but I would say probably right now somewhere between 3.5 and 5.
Okay, thank you. So math was brought up a couple times. The $40,000 price tag to rebuild was mentioned. If that was even needed, if we did that for 6 years, that's $240,000. And nobody was claiming that would need to be done every year for 6 years. I'm willing to roll the dice for Sheehan in that we don't know what's going to happen with that building, and within a year or two, we will know what's going to happen with that building. So I can't change a motion here because we already have an ordinance written up tonight. So I most likely will be voting no for this because of the Sheehan aspect. I think I'd rather wait and see. We already know that there's other boilers we need to replace. The 2 middle schools are mentioned, so I'd rather see us do that than spend money on Sheehan when Sheehan is in flux right now. So again, I can't make a motion to change this because we have an ordinance in front of us, but I am in support of the other 2 schools. I just think that we should roll the dice with Sheehan and maybe reprioritize other schools that might need that before we spend money on a school that we may be abandoning in a few years. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So, it's funny, when I was at Sheehan for my school tour, one of the boilers flamed out and the custodian was working diligently to try to bring it back online. So obviously there's an issue. So I think we talk about rolling the dice, and that's sort of what the approach that we've always taken in town is sort of like roll the dice, and maybe this will last another year and another year. And then we get into the Lyman Hall situation where now you have like a non-functioning building and now you have an emergency. So I kind of think that this makes more sense. Even if we don't have a high school there, the chances that we're going to tear the building down and turn it into, something completely different in any manner of time or any short amount of time is pretty slim. So even if it's a school for another 5 or 6 years, it's probably going to be something else after that. So, like you look at the armory with the boilers. I mean, this building with the boilers, like we've had so much deferred maintenance. So this is not an area where I want to say we want to defer maintenance, frankly. I think we know it's a need. I think we just need to do it and bite the bullet and get it done. Anyone else on this topic? Mr. Regan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To that effect, what would the cost for a rental of a temporary boiler be for this winter, should it fail? And can we use Lyman Hall as example?
Yeah, we'd have to go back. We'd have to go back and look at the Lyman Hall.
Rough at order of magnitude.
Retrofitting a temporary boiler at Sheehan would be extremely difficult. It would affect the entire operation of the building. It would have to go where the loading bay is, where the receiving bay is. So to rent a boiler, it's, I think they start at 10 grand a month and go up to 30. There's a lot of variables, but we would have a hard time retrofitting Sheehan High School.
So if we could, minimum's 100,000, maximum could be hundreds of thousands.
Correct.
Just for 1 year's purpose, while we try to get replacement parts, if they are even available.
I think that's accurate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mrs. Tata.
Thank you. Just for clarification, 10,000 a month equates to hundreds of thousands in 1 year? I'm just not clear on what.
Well, no, it's really be, at Sheehan, it would be all year because those boilers are used for reheat coils.
Okay.
So the cooling system relies on tempering that air back to usable temperature. It also heats the swimming pool,
Okay.
so there's that. There are ways to deal with that too, but it's additional equipment
So those are those boilers are year
year-round.
round. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Madam, I'll move the motion on the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll? Or, I'm sorry, hang on. Let me close the public hearing. All right, now there's a motion on the table on the ordinance. Madam Clerk, kindly call the roll.
Carmody,
Yes.
Laffin,
Yes.
Regan,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Tata,
No.
Testa, Marone.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You too. All right, item number 8 was withdrawn. Item number 9, discussion possible action regarding Simpson Court outdoor dining. This is Councilor Carmody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to take a minute to talk about this. It is a small but impactful way we can bring new life to our town center by once again expanding outdoor dining in Simpson Court. We saw firsthand how this space transformed during the pandemic. Restaurants thrived, people gathered, and our town center truly became a place to be. That kind of vibrancy is not accidental. It comes from choosing to invest in experiences that bring people together. This year, the merchants are proposing a scaled back version of the outdoor dining setup compared to what we've seen in the past. They plan to use only 6 parking spaces, which increases the number of usable spots for vehicles compared to prior years. They are also committed to covering the full cost of installing and removing the concrete barriers. I know Heather from Mr. D's is here tonight to speak on behalf of the participating merchants, and I hope we will give this idea full consideration. We should be striving to create a town center that is a true destination, one where people want to visit, walk, dine, and spend time, a place where residents feel proud to bring their friends and family, and a place that feels alive. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you wanted to invite Heather up now to give her proposal or how you wanted to handle the discussion, but I defer to you.
Well, let's take questions from the council first. My first concern is the council's turned this down in the past 2 years, right? And so now we have essentially the same plan coming back for another go, but I guess I'll defer to the rest of the council. Anyone on the council have questions regarding the plan?
Well, I do think that Heather was here to speak on behalf of the merchants and wanted to go through the proposal and present it to us before I make a motion.
Okay. Yeah, she's certainly welcome to.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Would that be considered part of public comment?
Would be the public comment on this item, yes. No, because, well, that's fair. Okay, so the plan we have is based on the outdoor dining document we received, correct?
Correct.
So have you moved,
I could make a motion, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like. I make a motion to allow for expanded outdoor dining in Simpson Court, utilizing 6 parking spaces with the condition that the participating merchants cover the full cost of installation and removal of the concrete barriers as determined by the Department of Public Works.
Okay, so now the motion's made and seconded. If Heather, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. If you'd like to come forward, you're welcome to sit at the dais if you'd like.
Hello. At first, I want to thank you all very much for taking the time tonight to give us a moment to speak on this matter, because I know we did already go over this last year in a very exciting affair there.
And if you wouldn't mind,
Sure.
just speak into the mic, and if you could
I'm
introduce
sorry.
yourself for the record.
And my name is Heather Williams. I live here in town, 9 Laurel Ridge Court, and I own Mr. D's over on North Main Street.
Thank you.
And thank you again for taking the time here. As already has been proposed, we're looking to see if we could possibly work with you guys to revamp a plan to possibly move forward with doing dining in Simpson Court. My business itself took a really big hit last summer just by not doing the outdoor activities, not to mention the positive impact it had on our community. Usually every summer I hire about 7 to 10 extra kids, and last summer I had to let go of everybody I hired because of the lack of business that we saw. I don't know, I'm just speaking on behalf so that we can, as somebody from the community as well that liked seeing this. It brought our center of town alive, it brought people from out of town through, and the difference I saw in revenue from 2023 to 2024 was substantial, and most of that was from people coming from out of town to come and dine and check out our town center. I know that there was a lot of discussions in regards to respecting all businesses, so that everybody had proper parking for their businesses for come and go traffic that they need. And what we did propose with the plan gave more than enough room from Calgary all the way over to have open parking for their customers. We did reach out to the police department, and there was a slight change where the ramp is that's coming up between Half Moon and Gaetano's. That actually would be continued to be blocked off, and all the handicap parking would still be where it was in prior seasons across on Simpson Court there. I'm just hoping that we could possibly find something that works to leave everybody happy so that we can do this, and with us bearing the cost for dropping off and removing the barriers, we're not asking too much from the town when it comes to the expenses. We'll also maintain and keep our patio areas clean and presentable for the town. And I don't know, I'm just wondering what we could do, if there's any suggestions from your side so that we can make everybody happy to move forward with possibly doing this for the community again.
Question from the council? Comment from the public? Mr. Ross?
Hi, my name is Ray Ross. I live 656 Center Street. And I'm an absolute proposal. This proposal, I think, is a good one for the town. It's good for the people and it's good for the businesses. And I was one that took advantage of it for the first few years it was out there prior to COVID. And I saw a lot of people coming from out of town. And these people that came from out of town not only visited these restaurants, they came back and went to Michael's, and they went to the other restaurants uptown. And I know that there was objection about parking space when you first come into Simpson Court. Well, at that point, the bank was in operation, and they needed a lot of space for their customers. The bank's been vacant now, I think, a year, and I don't see anybody coming in new. But I do feel that it was a nice feeling. It gave the people uptown a nice feeling about their town. It gave people that came in from out of town, they liked it, and it was complimentary. There was never a single problem as far as vandalism or anything like that. And I just think it's a feel-good thing for the town at no expense to the town. And I think the merchants deserve the chance to do it again because the public wants it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Anthony Dorsey, 399 South Main. I also work at Knuckleheads. As an opposing business, we still think it's a good idea. With them taking full financial responsibility, that seems like the fairest thing. And I think it is still good for Uptown. Does it really benefit every single business? I mean, there's more people in the area, so yes. But ultimately, that's, we just want to be on board with being, the across the street people, the other side of the street, that we're also okay with it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir? And then Mr. Letourneau next.
Good evening. Steve Belly, I'm representing Body and Soul Day Spa, 26 North Main Street. Put my eyes on. All right, so I was here last year. I gave my opinion on what I thought about the whole use of the parking lot. I was here the year before. I haven't changed my ideas. Parking lot is for public use, okay? We've taken something that was done as a way to help shore up businesses during the strict protocols for social distancing during the COVID pandemic, and it somehow turned into a business model that now everybody thinks is entitled, okay? Or somehow that it's the town's responsibility to help make this happen. COVID's been over now for 3 years. We reaped the benefits of that special consideration, or some people did, and the use of the public parking lot for several years after COVID, okay? Not until last year did we stop, okay? Into a time, you know, social distancing notwithstanding, that's all done with now. Also, some businesses enjoyed the ability to expand their business and square footage and their footprint by adding the parking lot to their dining areas long after COVID was done, okay? Prior to COVID, they had conducted their business on the sidewalks, like most restaurants and things in metro areas, downtown New Haven, Hartford, with no problems. That was sufficient and acceptable. Our business, along with others, not directly using or benefiting from the parking lot dining area, should not have to lose or somehow or another jeopardize the customers that we have due to lack of convenient parking, just so some may enjoy a better bottom line or, you know, increased business. This matter was put to rest last year, or so I was under the presumption. I don't understand why it has to be an issue again. I'm sorry, but I don't think just because someone feels they should be able to use public space for their business, that it translates into being the town's duty or obligation to meet those needs and desires of said businesses. If it's a matter of business being tough and times being hard, which they are, welcome to Business 101. Everyone struggled. Some of us got no help at all during the pandemic. My wife had to shut down for 3 months straight. There was no put up barriers, there was no put up plexiglass, there was no move your dining room tables. There was nothing. There was no business based on the type of business she does. She had to pay the employees, didn't have to, but she paid her employees out of her own pocket to help them. And then once the payroll relief thing came back, she was recompensated for that. However, in that, she lost about 3 or 4 good employees that had followed her for years. Now it's been, I think, 18 or 19 years she's been open. Unfortunately, they got really accustomed to the extra money that was given by unemployment, and they didn't see the need to come back and work outside of their home. I think it's time that we start to figure out another solution. So I'm not totally against not doing something. I mean, is it fun? Sure, it looks like great fun, but so does Celebrate Wallingford, okay? There's no need to strong arm, bully, or publicly or social media shame any business or person or people because they don't toe the line, okay? There shouldn't be any of that, and I have seen that. I propose, consider this, several times a month, maybe the first and third weekends of every month starting, say, May, going all the way into October, right? That you take those weekends and set up something so that there can be this big outdoor, almost festival, quasi-weekend festival, okay? Where they can bring in the music and this and that. So set a time, you know, set a temporary amount of time. And then on Monday, parking lot goes back to being a parking lot. But maybe Friday to Sunday, it's, you know, this kind of bigger expanse. In closing, we all have private businesses, not federally, not state, not town subsidized, nor given special privileges in order to conduct our business. Public parking is just what it says. It's public parking. I thank you guys for your attention, your consideration, and my wife and I look forward to coming up with some kind of solution with the fellow merchants so that it is equitable, it is fair, and doesn't, you know, cause anybody any kind of growing pains, you know? The last thing we want to see, and I said this last year, and I said it the year before, is to see anybody hurt their bottom line. But there again, let's be real. Public dining That's great. Al fresco dining, great. But it was always done on the sidewalks. I don't understand why we're having to now continue something that was done, I'll use the same word, as a stopgap. There's no need for the stopgap anymore. It's done. We've weathered that storm. Let's continue on now. Is there a way that we can all put our heads together and figure out a better option? Some were given, and then some were shot down by, I don't know if it was the fire chief or the police chief, said, no, we can't do this, we can't do that, and we can't do the other thing. So, you know, if we come up with ideas, we at least need a little help from, you know, the municipal officials at hand, you know. And that's all I have to say. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather, if you'd like to respond, feel free.
May I add something else?
Sure.
I don't know if they had an opportunity it's not the best diagram ever that was drawn up here, but to take a peek, it does leave 10 extra spots. So it's a great deal more what we're proposing, so that it leaves it fair so that everybody has plenty of space there. And I'm willing to negotiate further. I do want to add to it as well. I'm not going to be doing tableside dining out front. I'm willing to work with my neighbors so that there is enough space for everybody to kind of spread out, and the other business as well still have complete access to their front doors with extra parking as well. So I'm not trying to propose how last year was, where it was an all or nothing ordeal.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was, and just so you know, your diagram was supplied to the council.
It was, okay.
Prior to the meeting, okay.
Perfect, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Mr. Letourneau is next.
John Letourneau, 3 Regent Court. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you. I spoke about this last year, and here we are again. Hopefully it'll pass. My take on this, I'm fully for it. I think it's a great idea. We did it during COVID, and it worked. And it worked so well that we did it a little past COVID. And people really enjoyed it. People in this town really enjoy going and sitting outside. I know there's sidewalk dining, but this is a little different. It's unique to what we have uptown. It's unique to our parking area. I've had people come into my store. Now, I've been downtown for 25 years. I'm going on 26 years. And since that outdoor dining, I've had, the majority of my customers are from out of town. I get a few Wallingford customers, a few, other close towns, but most of them are out of town. They'll come up during the day, and where can we go for lunch? So I said, what do you want? So we go through that whole thing, and then I send them uptown. I send them to Gaetano's or Half Moon. And they come back and they go, wow, this is great. I wish we had this in our town. I said, don't you have it? Well, we have sidewalk dining, but nothing like this, where they took part of the parking area and made it really nice. It's comfortable, it's not crowded, it's just great. I've had a lot of people tell me that. And I think that's a great thing for Wallingford, because these people, they come back to my business, but they're also coming into, I said, what did you do afterwards? After you ate. Sometimes they come back to the store, or I'll see them when they come pick up their job, their lamps that they dropped off to be worked on. A couple of weeks later, I said, what did you do after you ate? We walked around. Where did you go? And they walked the uptown area. They went up as far as the dressing room, and they walked downtown. They said, wow, Wallingford's really got a nice downtown. I said, thank you. It's been a lot of work, but we're doing okay. So this is a good thing for Wallingford. And I know there's certain businesses that aren't happy with it up there. I've heard comments that it was made by one of the businesses up there last year. They were being interviewed on TV, and they said, gee whiz, we don't have parking for our employees. Well, your employees are not supposed to be parking out there. It's 2-hour parking. you have park in the back. There's plenty of parking. There's plenty of everything for everybody up there. And this revised plan, I know they cut back on spaces. I wish they didn't, but they cut back on spaces to make this work. And here, the merchants are here this year saying we're willing to pay to put out the cement blocks and to take the blocks in. So, you know, I think all the pieces have finally come together on this. And Sam, I thank you for bringing this forward. It's in my opinion, it's a good thing for Wallingford. And it's something that makes this town just a little bit unique. And that's what we strive for, is to that and to bring people into town. So I hope you pass it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Comerford.
Bill Comerford, Broadview Drive. Couple notes here. I happen to see Councilor Carmody's backup, and it said in almost all his bullet points, uptown, 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 and more uptown. Nothing about the redheaded stepchild called downtown. It's all uptown. Well, can you imagine being downtown? Once again, I don't know, this is like second fiddle to Hidden Brook Lane. This is, now we're at the same discussion that we have every year. And it never came up to ordinance. You had a year to have it bring up an ordinance and talk about it. You guys could have hashed it out. We're going to put this thing to bed, or we're going to change it or something. Never happened. So here, fast forward, here we are. So if I was a downtown merchant, down the hill from uptown, I'd be a little upset myself, because once again, you're giving certain businesses, and I don't have no problem with any of them, but you're giving them certain benefits that everybody else doesn't have. And I'll give you a prime example. If I owned La Piazza, was on a hill, has virtually no accessibility to have this outdoor area sectioned off, would the town allow them to have valet parking and have, say, 50 or 70 spots guaranteed for them over at Simpson Court, and said, you know what, you can start doing valet. We'll let you section it off. You can have somebody come. You can have a driver pick them up and so forth, and do this for all the other businesses, because everybody, it should be fair and equitable to all of them, as opposed to narrowing it down to certain ones, which I don't think is fair. As far as the cost of I know somebody took offense because they were called mafia blocks at one time, but the cement blocks, are they paying for these? Are they buying them?
So the proposal is that they're going to pay to install them. I believe that they were donated. I'm not sure what the origin of them is, but I know the blocks are somewhere.
They were purchased during COVID, and last I knew they might be stored in the Public Works yard.
Okay, because I would check in on that, because I think Mr. Bolstromitis had said, who was the director of Public Works, said, no, they don't have them anymore. They use them for other means. So this was when it was brought up last time, that they would have to be purchased again. So the question is, if that is in fact the case, are they going to purchase them also? And are they going to pay for the labor to install them? Again, because if it's going to happen, it ought to be not on the burden of the taxpayer, and all those costs associated, which should be brought up or expensed from the people. And also going back to the redheaded stepchild down the hill, there's.
My wife would have a great objection to that term, so.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Let's move on to a different term.
So maybe she knows then, I don't know. So in the budget, there's like 25 grand for downtown parking upgrades. 25 grand, that's it. Those things are an embarrassment. And you're only going to give them 25 grand. They virtually can't do anything. They're all potholes. It's a mess. But yet, can you imagine being one of those people that are still paying for their rent, but someone else is getting an additional benefit? Then my next question would be is, say McGuire sells his building. Well, I'm sure he's not going to, but say he puts a restaurant there. Are you going to give him the same thing? Are you going to say, you know what? I want to block off 15 parking places because I got Maggie McFly's coming in. You're going to give it to them or because you're giving it to whoever else? Again, the point is, it's got to be fair to everybody. And I don't agree that we don't need a better the downtown, but the downtown collectively, not just one little section or a slice of the pie. And again, I would have felt better if this was all addressed through ordinance as opposed to being dumped on your lap at the last minute, because you guys already shot it down. Nothing's changed. A couple little drawings, a couple stick figures, but other than that, it's the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Hi, my name is Sheila Delmonico. I'm Linda's sister, and I don't like to repeat myself either, and we find ourselves back here again, okay? And like Steve said, this started with the COVID, and again, it continues, you know? I feel like Heather, last year, you didn't care either way. Stefano, last year, he didn't care either way. And again, here we are. Speaking of redheaded stepchild, you know what? Let me tell you something. I don't want to get personal, but we've been snubbed by Debbie, Cheryl's boyfriend. We walk by, hi, and I always said hi. I give a nod of the head, even when her tables were out there.
You can kindly speak into the microphone, please.
I'm walking my dog, the tables are out there. I'd smile at her. I'd give her a nod. I'd give her a wave. Maybe, I don't know, 20% of the time I might get something back, okay? And again, not to get personal, but like, and Liz, another one, she stops in my salon and says to me, oh, can you walk by Gaetano's with me? I'm like, why? Oh, I don't want to walk by Jim. He heckled me when I was I'm like, what? You're afraid to walk by Jim? Are you kidding me? I'm like, all right, come on. And I walked by, okay? I mean, are we in 5th grade, okay? Are we in 5th grade? You can't say hi, okay? Anyway, again, not to get personal, I'm going to try not to say anything that I don't want to say. My sister Linda works hard. Okay, she works hard for her own business. She cares about her clients. She does the books at her house. She does the books for my mom. Okay, that kid, she pulls off everything. Parties, keeps the family together. Okay, and that's who I'm up here talking for, is my sister Linda. You know what? I'm gonna get real emotional because she doesn't deserve this. Okay, here's what's going on. Okay, why don't we do this? Okay, your business, you lost money. Why don't we take everybody's books, okay, and bring what you lost, okay, and how much you gained for the how much did Gaetano's make extra in those 3 years, okay? How much did we lose in those 3 years, okay? Why don't we start there? That's black and white. That's on paper, okay? Walking traffic, what do you need? People who can walk, okay? You know what we need? We need parking spots because we have people who can't walk, okay? And I can't tell you how many times I literally walked men. Phil, let me at least get you over the curb. Come on, walk all the way down to Heather's place. Wherever they parked, I would literally hold them up and walk, okay? We had a problem with our doors. They wouldn't open all the way coming into the facial room. I had a woman with a walker, and I was like, oh, how's she gonna get in here? And fortunately, she closed one side of it, and she got in. Very next client, swear to God, I'm like, oh, not another one, walker. And she's trying to get in. I go, you know, the other lady closed hers, right? She closed it, and she got in. We got the doors fixed, okay, which is good. People come in, back pain, sciatica, okay? People, pedicures alone. We got couples doing pedicures because guess what? Oh, we do a better job than the podiatrist. And it's the same copay, and they enjoy themselves. You know what? They're old. I can't even tell you. We must have about, I don't know, maybe 12, in their early 90s, late 80s, okay? I mean, it's ridiculous to take parking spots away when they already have outdoor dining, okay? So, again, let's go back to what it's costing other businesses, okay? So, and then, you know what? And I didn't want to go here, but I'm going to go here. Because you know what? You brought it upon yourself, okay? Excuse me? No, this is a different issue. So now, we come to work in the morning. Is that too loud? We come to work in the morning, okay? We're walking up the alleyway. What do we see? Cupcakes thrown, ice cream cones flipped over, pizza boxes, pizza slices, ketchup packets, not just thrown there, actually stepped on, okay? Beer bottles in our front planters. Not only beer bottles, but actual glasses that they took out of their restaurant, okay? So, you know, partying's good, but who's gonna do the cleanup, okay? And the girl next door, Jen, the designer, I had to actually help her clean broken glass, broken beer bottles, okay? Rats, mice, okay? Here's something in the wall. 15, 16 years, never had a mouse, never had a rat, okay? Now, I call my brother-in-law. He sends over his cousin. Thank God he didn't charge it. We threw him a couple $100, but no, he went outside, stuffed some Brillo stuff in the back, put some stuff downstairs. No, he didn't get rid of them. We had to call somebody else, okay? We have a bill for $1,200, okay? Because of rats and mice, okay? Never had them before. Never had them before, okay? So is that what we want to bring back? Okay, broken beer bottles, a mess. I don't see no cleanup crew, okay? I don't know. I just think it's unfair. It's very unfair, okay? You want walking people, get people that walk. We need parking spaces. We need parking spaces. Let's go back to, let's bring our paperwork. I know this is not going to end tonight. Next time, we'll show you how much we lost and how much it cost. And then you show us how much extra you guys made. You know? I don't know. I appreciate your time. I hate to be here. I hate to come back. And I just hope it ends. Because it's really, really very unfair. The design house, they work on site. They don't need parking spots. You know, unfortunately, the bank closed. But you know what? Jack was here, our landlord. The bank complained too. No parking. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Heather, if you'd like to respond?
Sorry to speak up again. I know that there is a good amount of parking that has been opened up due to the bank leaving, because unfortunately, it's as amazing as the
I'm sorry,
employees.
speak into the microphone,
I'm sorry.
please.
As amazing as the employees were at the bank, a lot of them did park out front. So now that kind of alleviates that, or takes that problem off the mix there. And then in regards to what Ms. Comfort or Mr. Comfort had said about keeping it fair amongst all the businesses, I hope I'm correct with saying this, but I did read that there was something in the makes for redoing the back parking lots for a lot of the Center Street restaurants so that they also can have a setup for outdoor dining to keep it fair across the board for everybody. So I'm not looking for any special privileges or anything along those lines, or to leave anybody else feeling as though they're getting slighted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Letourneau, can it be very brief?
John Letourneau, 3 Regent Court. It was brought up earlier, I guess there's a question of the cement blocks, whether the town has them or they don't have them, or where they went. If the town doesn't have them, so the town doesn't have to pay for these again, I will volunteer, I'm going on record right here, I will volunteer to purchase whatever blocks are needed for up at Simpson Court. So I just want to put that out there so there's not an extra expense.
Thank you.
Is that short?
That's short. Perfect.
Thanks. Okay, good.
And he comes with money, even better. All right, back to the council. All right, Madam Clerk, would you kindly call the roll?
Carmody,
Yes.
Laffin,
No.
Regan,
No.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Tata,
No.
Testa, Marone.
I vote no, and the motion fails. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, seeing no other business on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.